So I was one of the first couple sets of graduates that came out of college that was going through that process for the diversity hires. I had an investigator that was a stickler. He wasn't trying to let anybody in. He was just a gatekeeper.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Well, that's an important thing. So, you work to get out of a situation that maybe you don't like, economics, whatever it may be. But too many people will work themselves out of that situation and turn their back on it. And I just think that's the wrong thing to do. Those are the people that need to go back and revitalize their community. Say, hey, look, this is possible. You're an example at that point.
It's tough in the sense that when 1, 2, 3, or 4 of us can get out and we come back, I'm still met, regardless of the position or the degrees or the licenses that I have obtained, I'm still met with the resistance. I'm still met with the prejudice. I'm still met with the spiteful, vindictive, and the restrictions of trying to make things better for the people that I grew up with.
In your own community?
In your own community.
So are you looked at like a traitor?
Not necessarily a traitor. What it is, you come back to help. I have the respect, whether I have the gun, the badge, or the uniform, just because of the man I am. But when you first get on the job, you got to choose between the friends and the family. We all go through it. It's just a rite of passage. Right?
There's some friends that you can't go hang out with. Yeah.
Right. So when you're looking at that and trying to do what's best for your family, some of us move out and get a better place, better house, new location, different environment. Some of us stay and we're around. So when I stayed in the neighborhood and around where I was still grew up at, came back home from Georgia, back to New Jersey, got on the job, it's like what I try to do is try to educate some of the younger men that are coming up in different generations. It's like, this is how you handle things. So it almost became like an information, gateway. Here's what you need to know in order to how to handle certain situations. Because, we as a people are angry with some things that happen in our lives. There is the mistreatment of law enforcement in the community. There's excessive force that we deal with. And see, when being a black police officer coming back, there's that now, which side are you playing on? You get that traitor information. It's almost like, are you with us here or are you over there with them? No, I'm who I am, and I sat in that seat already. I'm just doing something that's better for my life that's going to protect my people too, because it's been that for you. So it's not an idea that I have to be prejudiced or anything that comes with that. That comes to like we trying to even the playing field. So when you come out there, and that's like being in the military, there was no black, white, and this and that, the other. What shade of green are you? Now it's like, what shade of blue are you? So now when you're looking at the camaraderie and you're looking at how to bridge gaps, we have to bridge the gap. I'm a person that's dropped in as a puzzle piece so we can do what we need to do. Because without having someone of us out of the community to understand what the laws and how have to manage that and handle this, we're lost. That's why we have these tensions in the street. You have all the abuse that happens. Some are good, some are bad, and some are misunderstood, so you have to bridge it.
So you talk about misunderstandings. I know we're kind of jumping around here, but so you get on the job and you have a different perspective on the police work of when the police came into your neighborhood when you were growing up. All right, so you might have seen them as a young kid as being a little heavy-handed. Maybe they were excessive, and maybe they were, or maybe it was a misperception. You getting on the job and seeing the other side of it, did it put some stuff into perspective where, okay, this guy was heavy-handed, but maybe this guy wasn't. He was just scared, or he was in a bad situation. Did it give you a little different look at it?
Oh no, absolutely. It gives you a 360 view.
Yeah,
you're on the inside now.
Yeah.
So the things that you did see when you were younger, you can understand some things that happened for a certain way because someone's out of line. Someone could be disrespectful, or somebody could be reaching for a weapon or a gun. Mm-hmm. So being a police officer and going through the academy, especially with me being in the military, I'm a very tactical individual. So I see things before I forecast them. So I see dangers coming before they happen. So, we protect ourselves. And in doing so, the public doesn't know every aspect of our training until they actually do something. You put them in a FATS machine. You can see the realistic aspects of the decisions you have to make within 1/100th of a second. Could be the meaning of life and death. And they don't have that. We do.
So Jimmy Marinara puts me in the FATS machine in the police academy. Our gentleman in the control room knows Jimmy really well. Right. And the first time I went in there, guy's coming at me, the one where he's holding the baby and he's coming at me with a machete. Well, he drops the baby and starts just running towards me. And I drop down and I fire. I drop down on a knee and I fire. And afterwards, he asked me, he goes, how many times do you think you fired? And I said, I don't know, 3. And he goes, try 7. That's how quick it happens, and you don't even realize it.
Right.
So that gave me a different perspective, where you say you had like, and the Diallo shooting was a little bit different, but say you have somebody like Amadou Diallo who shot 57 or 58 times, something like that, and you think as a civilian who's never been in that situation, well, how the hell you shoot somebody 58 times? Well, here's how it happens. You got adrenaline. You don't really know. You're trying to go until the threat stops. There was other circumstances, because I have a friend who was an NYPD officer at the time. He has a little different take on it, and I understand that. But this stuff happens so damn quick, and then we get to sit back here, and one of the favorite terms was Monday morning quarterback. Right. We get to Monday morning quarterback it as a civilian under calm circumstances, and it's just not fair. It's not fair to do that stuff. So you move on. Your father teaches you all these great lessons, and if he made you a tenth of the person you are today, your father was a great man. But then why join the military? Was it college military, or did you go to college first, then the military?
I went to college first, and then going through the state police process while I was in the military. So before that happened, the state police was going through their processes of not having a diverse police department for the state. So I was one of the first couple sets of graduates that came out of college that was going through that process for the diversity hires. I had an investigator that was a stickler. He wasn't trying to let anybody in. He was just a gatekeeper, just as qualified as anybody else. I already did an internship with the prosecutor's office.
No rest, no troubles,
nothing.
no.
So as life started to progress, as the reality starts to hit, you start seeing the reality of like, this is what this looks like. See, because when you start going through the processes of now future progression of promotions and who's going to be in charge, who's going to be in administration, they don't let us on the job as easy as you think. Because at the end of the day, if my partner or my predecessors before me, I got guys I graduated with, they got on the job 4 or 5 years before me. All of us had the same qualifications, all had degrees, no records, no nothing. So now when they get on the job, they got 4 or 5 years experience. They're becoming the sergeants, the lieutenants, the captains, and then in charge of units. When you first get on now, you're a rookie, 5, 6 years to them. So we all spend about 25 years on the job, and if you're lucky, 30. So you'll never, ever be in charge. So there's always a position when you're going down the line that keeps you, for me, that keeps you at bay.
So what was the position that was keeping you at bay? Well,
just the hiring process. You know?
You were looking to you were going through state police. What happened to the hiring process? I mean, you're a veteran. Mm-hmm. And that was when veteran preference actually meant something, because now everybody's a veteran because we had a 20-year war. Right. What happened with them?
I think it just comes to the roll of the dice, luck of the draw. I ended up having an investigator he had me in there investigating for 5 hours. Everyone was walking in hour and a half, in and out of their interviews. I was there, I got grilled.
What do you have? He had a bug.
He had a
ass?
bug.
Yeah.
He had a bug, and I was squared away. I was prepped for it, but it was disappointing. A lot of disappointments that come with that. And then, here we go. You run into different things. You go through some ups and downs in college. Had some mishaps. I had to get my record expunged.
Okay.
But that didn't affect that at the time.
Well, state police is always screwed up. So I applied on a whim with my brother in '99, and mind you, I don't even have a traffic ticket.
Right.
All right.
Right.
I have multiple college degrees. I have graduate degrees. I have all this stuff. And I got the letter back. And somewhere in my house, there's the letter. It says, I don't meet the qualifications. I go,
right.
What are you talking about? I don't meet the I don't even meet the qualifications to take the test.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. I didn't understand that at the time. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Of course.
I really don't want to be a state police officer.
Yeah, and it's just a prestigious thing. It's just something to achieve. It's a goal. Just like anything else. Just like being a police officer. There's good when you always go back to the root of why you became a cop. is the fact that you can help people. It wasn't a selfish thing. I didn't really care for much of anything else I went through. It was just the fact that I had the ability to change someone's life and protect them. And that's what drove my ability to endure more than most, just to keep giving. Because I know what it is to feel with not having a parent around or having a confidant or having a mentor, those things. I had those things. I've been trained and taught, crazy lessons of leadership, taking care of your own, taking care of the family, take care of the team, because we work for our people. My squad never worked for me. I worked for them. And in turn, they did their jobs and we came home in one piece.
So you grew up, so any of your friends that you grew up with take a different path than you?
I think
a lot of mine did. That's why I'm asking that question.
I think majority of my friends, I think we kept each other tight.
Good.
Some might have took a left turn here and there, but I think because of the relationships that we all had, even when they were doing something bad, for a while when we were young, they all turned because of the way we led our life. We have more guys doing better things. If they were in the street, they're homeowners now. They're working 9-to-5 jobs and doing well. They're actually doing better than me right now at this point. So it's like when you look at things, it's like you always want to influence the better things out of people, make them the best version of themselves. So it always becomes something that's good.
But you had a good foundation. So that's the big thing. This is what I'm hearing. Your foundation was solid.
For the most part.
And you look at some people in your neighborhood who maybe weren't your friends but went that bad route, and you look at so I got a friend of mine. She's a retired Patterson cop, and she lives in one of the worst areas possible. And she goes, yeah, there's drug dealers. She still lives in the house. There's drug dealers over here. There's drug dealers over there. And I go, well, why were you able to get out? And she goes, because my mom would have beat my ass. And I said, you see, that's it. It's all about the foundation.
Right.
So that makes you the type of person, the person that you are today is that solid. Then from that foundation, if you have a good foundation, you can build anything on top of that.
That's true. I mean, you got to have a powerful, purposeful why. Mm-hmm. And shit, God knows, like, going through what we've been through, if the why isn't tight and not big enough, because there's some dark days, and I suffered.
Oh, you suffered. We're gonna go into.
I suffered, brother, and like I went through some things that and it goes right down to like saying not today. Mm-hmm. That's a not today moment, and I had plenty of them.
You get hired, so state police doesn't work out, and how did you find Roseland Police Department?
Oh, we had a good chief up in it was the Chief Tovo up in Mountain Lakes. He interviewed me, and he just didn't have a slot at the time to bring me on. He was a great chief. He was a good man. And he said, there's like 3 different piles, right? So he was like the C, B, and A. He said, then there's the special golden pile. And it's like I fell in the golden pile, right? Because I had military, I had the experience.
You fit all the markers.
I fit all the markers all the way through. He would have hired me, but it's just that he didn't have the role at the time. But he knew the chief that we worked for. So he said he needs some help out there in Roseland. So he made a phone call.
Was he really a good chief if you recommended that department?
Well, at the time when you need help.
Yeah, when you need help, yeah.
When you need help, you're in those positions where you're trying to find some good men, and that can help you assist you build a department out of whatever ruin it was in, And sometimes we don't know that we create the ruin that we're in. So, he recommended me there, and I applied, and then, that's how it started, that process.
When people find out how I got hired, it's a crazy thing.
Right.
I was like, no, I met this guy in the gym. I swear to God, I met the guy in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, hey, we're hiring. Why don't you come take the test? I think you'd be a good police officer. All right. I was tired of traveling. Go in there and take a basic IQ test, and that was it.
Right.
That was it. And before you know it, I was on. Was it something similar with you? It's like they goes on recommendation, or did you go through an interview? You had to go through a basic interview.
We had to go through the interview. It's it just wasn't as scary or what people may put it out to be. A lot of times, it just had that conversation. Here's the resume. Here's my credentials. You run through your backgrounds. Everyone's doing everything they have to do. It wasn't nothing different than anyone else didn't go through. It just looked different. We had a different approach to doing the same thing.
So you, I know, were the first black officer to get hired. There was one, Mark Gray, but he was half.
Yeah,
So you were the first black officer in Roseland Police Department history, which is crazy because you got hired in 2001. That's kind of insane, but
the key component to any law enforcement officer being the best version of themselves is through education. Sherry Alsop is a leader in providing that education to police agencies, preparing them for the all too frequent dealings with sexual assault victims.
You've seen Sherry on episode 169 of the Suffering Podcast. She survived incest and almost daily sexual assault, so she comes from a place of experience and true understanding.
Sherry has the intelligence, commitment, and compassion to open the eyes of those on the front lines, while providing the tools to effectively deal with a difficult situation. Sherry's instruction comes from experience and multiple certifications.
Training with Sherry will offer on-site training, customized schedules, specialized instruction tailored from a victim's perspective.
You are going to hear Sherry's heart-wrenching but inspiring survivor story. Learn proprietary trauma-informed training techniques, uncovered victim-centered interview methods while earning continuing education credits according to your state guidelines. To be the best, you must learn from the best. Let Sherry also guide you through the delicate cases of sexual assault from a victim's point of view.
Be a source of comfort to those victims affected by these traumatic experiences while producing a solid investigation and uncovering details that often go unnoticed.
To find out more or to contact Sherry Alsop, go to sherryalsop.com. That's SherryAllsup.com.
you fit a lot of different markers. First of all, they don't have a black officer, and they need a black officer. Departments need black officers. They need diversity within their rank and file because you're dealing with all different types of people on a daily basis. And if they're looking at your entire police department and all they're seeing are white faces, that's a problem.
You need representation.
Sure.
And the thing is, it's like you got to have, even if it's one or two of us, in the department. Now, we became diverse over time. We had female officers. Mm-hmm. We got Spanish-speaking officers. Sure. And you got a couple of black officers, and then majority were white. But we all had a very diverse upbringing, different areas and environments that we came through. So that made us very dynamic, and we did our jobs well. So when you're looking at dealing with the public, you have representation because it saved you. It saved me.
It saved, yeah. Well, so
we've been through that.
So the backstory with Freddie and I is because we were so close and getting hired, we worked very closely with each other. A lot of times we drove the same car, and we knew how to bounce off of each other. It was a really nice, comfortable relationship where I know I could rely on him. He knew he could rely on me. And that I love that. Like it made you feel secure.
Absolutely.
When
you
you're
need that
on
the road.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you need that.
So you're in a very suburban white neighborhood. And I don't want to make this about race, but
no.
I know you were looked at by some little side-eyed because, like it or not, racism does exist. People will look at you differently because of the color of your skin. And did you run into that in this white suburban town?
You already know.